Getting on the door, let me go get them.
Okay, we are live.
Get all your shit.
Yeah, we need to mute YouTube.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mhm.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Howard Middle School's Go Team, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present who are here will quietly observe. For members of the Go Team with Howard Middle School, please identify yourself when you speak. I'm pleased to call this meeting of Howard Middle School's Go Team to order at time 4:55. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll. Go down.
Dr. Snowden, present. Ms. Shea, present. Mr. Goldberg, present. Ms. Rosser, Ms. Reese,
Present.
Dr. Bryant, present. Coach Allen, here. Ms. Sheets, present. Ms. Janke, present. Mr. Abernathy,
Present.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Coach Dion, is there a quorum present?
yes, ma'am.
That's great. We will now proceed to the other action items on our page. We will move forward with the approval of the agenda, which is our first order of business. The agenda was provided to you and copies are available here. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Make sure you say your name.
Joyce Sheets.
A second.
Second, Eric Goldberg.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. We will review and approve the minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve by Kim Jenkins.
A second?
I second, Dr. Bryant.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. Okay, motions are approved. We will now move forward with some other items on the agenda. We will be going a bit out of order to be fluid and flexible for tonight's meeting. And we will start actually with an information item. We would like to welcome Mr. Matthew Rogers, the APS Director of Organizational Development, to speak to us and give us an update on the principal selections process.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to meet everybody. I'm excited to be here with the Howard community and the Go Team. I just wanted to, I was invited to come join the meeting, and I love getting to know folks, so that's a good thing in person. Last week, well, let me back up. Most of you have seen this flyer. We pushed this out, and thank you I know it's not easy to get things out quickly, but we finally got this finalized late last week. We were able to push it out. If you look at the calendar, I want to kind of talk through it quickly and give you a little bit of information. We know that once the Midtown Elementary position was identified and announced, we knew that Howard, and even the superintendent, Dr. Herring, said that Howard's principalship was the next priority. And so, and following her guidance, we started backwards designing, when can we realistically get the principal finalist named and approved by the board? So we started with January 9th. We felt like that was a reasonable timeline that we could achieve. So we backward designed it, and you can see, well, I have the flyer, if you haven't seen the flyer. The superintendent will do tier 4 interviews that week of December 12th through 16th. Before that's tier 3. So just a reminder, tier 3 is when many people on this committee sit down, community, staff, sit down and participate in the tier 3 interviews. Tier 2 interviews are going to happen the week of November 28th through December 2nd. That will involve some of the folks at this table as well. One of the most important things, the first thing we need to do is on November 29th, the staff and the community will have an opportunity to engage with us for a revisit of the leadership profile that was developed previously. What we want to do is get the staff and the community to look at those different domains and see what feedback we've collected and give everyone an opportunity to update that, because we want to use something, we want to use a leadership profile that matches November of 2022 rather than something previously. So that's what 29th will do. We'll also meet with the staff on that day, and then we'll have tier 2 interviews that. So it's an aggressive timeline, but we felt like it was reasonable. Really, the first thing we have to do is get a date on the superintendent's calendar. It's probably the hardest part. So we were able to get that in right before holiday break. Once we get back from holiday break, the district will communicate the finalist's name to the community, and it will go before the board for approval.
The 9th of January?
Yes.
Okay.
Just reverse engineer.
Yeah, I kind of talked through it backwards.
Yeah, you did.
Because we're back.
I have a
So it starts right after Thanksgiving. We'll start the process of updating the leadership profile, meeting with the staff and the community for input. Then we'll go straight into tier 2. The following week, the week of December 5th, we'll do tier 3. And the week of December 12th, we'll do tier 4.
I have a question. Dr. Bryant, Vice Chair of Go Team, what is the vetting process? Because it just seems to me that from the last experience that we had here at Howard Middle School, that was lack thereof a vetting process. So what do we have in place from an HR perspective to secure a veteran principal at this school in order to move forward, since we're looking at the January 2023 date? I'm kind of shaky on it.
Okay, the vetting process. So right now, folks are applying. I can only speak to what I'm doing, right? Because I'm new in this role. I'm vetting current applicants who've applied to the position. I'm seeing who's internal and external. I'm looking at their leadership experience. I'm looking at a lot of different things. What I will present to that tier 2 committee is the names of the applicants who have made it through a couple filters. If they've never had administrative experience, they're not qualified, right? So I have to look at a couple different things to vet out people who don't really qualify for what this school needs. What this school needs is a strong leader with experience working with a diverse community, with experience working with a large community. Those are key factors. So My goal is to take it from 30, 35 applicants and take to tier 2, take about 10 or 12 max, and we have to vet that down to about 6. So we're trying to get it to the cream of the crop, I would say. Some things that I've heard just in my limited time in this role from folks is, you want someone who has run a large school, who's successfully run a large middle school, or a large school in general. Someone who has experience, preferably working within diverse communities. All those that leadership profile document, that's going to be key to helping us when we look at tier 2, really look through those resumes and determine who may meet most of those qualifications to get to tier 3, to have the opportunity to sit down in front of people. I will say one thing I'm doing very early is I'm reviewing references right away. I'm doing social media checks, I'm doing a variety of things to ensure that we don't waste time, especially face-to-face time with an interview committee, with anyone who has any kind of concern. So that's a very good question. And it's a very rational question. I can understand why you'd be concerned.
And let me add to that also, at first we were talking about March of 2023. And I know, and then because it was also stated in this other meeting that we've had that what principal from another school will be available to start in January or whatnot. And I'm concerned about that because, one of our colleagues made a point last night with the superintendent that oftentimes in this process, and I'm putting it nicely, that sometimes people are just placed in positions as opposed to being the most qualified candidate for a position within a specific school. So I just didn't know what we were doing in terms of that. If this is one of the goals because of what was stated initially to us.
So all the feedback I received is that Howard wants a principal sooner rather than later.
And I have a opinion.
So that's my understanding for
This is what was
why.
told to us. This was in a meeting, and I'm sure you all had heard that too.
So I had every concern.
Identify yourself.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm Kim Janke. I'm the parent liaison. But in a nutshell, everything that she just said is true. And quick is never better than good, and that end. So my concern out the gate is I wouldn't use this time thing to hire a CEO of a company. And this is a school where my grandson goes, and these are their babies. And so one of the things you said out the gate is not personal. One of the things that you said out the gate was that you were looking at January 9th to get on the superintendent's calendar. No, that's the least important thing. The most important thing is the process of tier 1, 2. So when we started backwards and we graduated again, but that was just really unusual to me because this is like such a serious thing, and I'm not saying you're minimizing it, but I think the system has minimized it kind of up to this point in time. So since you're new,
I've been in APS for quite a while.
Okay, well, I think this is the time to take the basket and shake it up because what we're doing is clearly not working. And it's not. And this time frame is going to make it worse. If we press this, in my opinion.
I appreciate your opinion.
Unless we have a whole bunch of things in queue that we're unaware of as parents and teachers. And then also the thing that you said that you were personally vetting them. And I think this is like a 360 process, even at the vetting. So I recognize I said a lot. So here's my first concern is I believe that everything she said about timing is true. I believe that maybe I said it's not personal. I said that maybe we are looking at the wrong date as the most significant date. I said that I think we're reversing speed versus quality. And this school, this is my neighborhood. I live there, my business there. I own JP Glassman Students. And so this is really all I'm saying. I'm just gonna shorten it up and I'm very straight shooter, so I hope you're not offended. But all of this does not seem like we're in this game for real, because this process is not gonna yield the result I can say. Unless there's some candidates that, in my opinion, unless there's some candidates on the table right now that you vetted and referenced and everything, 'cause it's Thanksgiving.
So I do have
To
direct,
recap and just to kind of pull us in a little bit tighter with the discussion, so the job has been posted for a while, right? And
posted, 10/22.
10/22, so I guess going on a month.
That's how long.
If you, yeah, but if you put it before the board at this current time frame on the 9th, when would the person start? Would they start for the next school year?
It's gonna depend.
Okay, if they're under contract or
There are factors involved in that.
not? Okay, well, the reason why I asked that was because if it seems like you're trying to get someone to start right away, then we would have to skip past people who are under contract right now, correct? But if you maybe even approve them, then have a transition plan, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
Yeah, not challenge your timeline, just to understand that will not preclude people who are currently under contract.
So I'm glad you asked that, and you're correct.
Okay,
The ask was that there be stability and leadership at Howard. That was the ask. I do get to see the applicants. We have qualified.
My issue is I
That's my
trust.
follow up with you. So, 'cause you did share.
I did because it was important.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
enjoyed
glad you did. No, it's very important. This is a very sensitive hire because of the past 2 years, which is why there's been a request for there to be stability and leadership that have from this. 1 or 2 years. I don't know if I have the authority to give you the opportunity to comment, so I'm gonna defer to someone else.
yeah, state your name.
Eric Goldberg, Cat Rep. Thank you for coming, Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I just want to disagree with my colleague respectfully. What I'm hearing from the community, the Go Team is an extension of the community. Parents I talk to, certainly I don't talk to everybody, is that parents want a principal in place sooner than later. And to the point Chair Reese made, the new hire doesn't necessarily need to start right away. If they're under contract, we have very competent co-principals in place to finish out the year, and the new principal could start in the summer. A point I think that we made last Go Team meeting, if you're a 8th grade student at Howard, you haven't had a permanent principal in place since you started as a 6th grader. This school needs leadership. It needs a principal. There's no dearth of qualified candidates out there. That's not going to be a problem. You could, by waiting until June to make the hire, you could run into a situation where other candidates make other commitments and you might lose out. The other piece is, yeah, I think we need a leader in flex. Now to the question part. I think APS has lost some trust with the community in the hiring process. This is the 3rd principal search Howard has had in 2.5 years. I'm concerned about the integrity of the process. Last in the McDowell search, where it's not supposed to work. It's supposed to be a final 3, and then the Go Team makes a recommendation, and Superintendent Herring makes the hire. Now Superintendent Herring doesn't have to necessarily follow the recommendation of the Go Team. She can do whatever she wants, but the hire should come from those final 3. There's talk that in the McDowell process, McDowell was entered in late. She wasn't in the final 3, and she wasn't stacked ranked number 1 by APS. So how can we ensure that the integrity of the process? There's nothing wrong with the APS hiring process. It's just been manipulated in the McDowell process, in Truck, in the K-5, where that hire was rescinded. What can we do to ensure that this hiring is transparent and the hiring process is executed and followed?
Well, that's a valid question.
And in this, how can all of that happen in this time frame? Is what I'm having a hard, just to clarify.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
I mean, I can just tell you that we are looking at the process with an outside consultant and looking at ways we can tighten it up even more based on recent issues that you brought up. Again, I can't speak directly to what happened in the past because it wasn't in my house. Like I didn't work on that. So that wasn't any of the work. But I've seen it. I've seen the process be effective for many, many schools in Atlanta Public Schools. The last issue with Howard and the last issue with the Midtown Elementary. Again, I don't know the details of that, but I can look at some of the other principalships that we filled last year that were very successful. They're successful now. So I can only update you to say, we are looking closely at the process with the consultant. We are making revisions. I'm doing some things now in tier 1 that we didn't do earlier because of our concerns about what happened. So I'm learning from the mistakes of the past to make the future better and more solid and more trustworthy. That's super important to me too. So just know that that's part of the process that I'm implementing now to ensure that we get 3 top tier applicants, finalists for the superintendent. That the tier 3 folks, you sign off on it and you're like, yes, any one of these 3 would be awesome. That's the goal. That's the goal. And to reach, I actually have some really good I do, I've had some, well, I wanted to give you the space to share your concerns because it's a sensitive issue. And we all want the same thing. We want a rock star principal or leader to lead this school community.
I just hope so.
And so we have those folks to choose from on this. That's why I think this is a doable timeline. And to go to your point, just the knowledge that someone's coming that will be solid and consistent will put a lot, because the reality is what we're not talking about is staff retention. Okay.
We can't talk about that.
Recruitment is under me, okay? So I know that in order to recruit and retain great teachers, you have to have leadership structure in place. I think y'all are doing a great job, but they want consistency. Teachers need to know the culture of their school, what to expect from their boss, how they're going to be supported. And all of that's built upon the expectation that whoever is leading the school and making those decisions, hopefully in collaboration with them, with the teachers and the parents, that person can be trusted and that they want to stay for, because we're coming up on hiring season. And I will say that my hat as a recruiter, my voice in this is only one of many, but it's like, if we don't have someone solid in place in January, we're going to see an exodus of great teachers from Howard, and that's heartbreaking, right?
Yes.
So we got to keep our
To
rating.
Coach Donovan's
That's
question.
Sorry.
Coach Donovan, I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. I understand that I understand more than most people sitting here that we need a confidence of a quality candidate. But I do agree that sooner is good. Last year when spring break came and there was still no principal, and then we left school and there was still no principal, that's very concerning that you're like, oh, I don't have a boss next year.
Yeah.
So I will say that when Dr. Maxwell was hired, he came in, I think we actually were introduced to him either right before spring break or right after spring break. And that does give you a level of, security. It's like, well, at least I know who I'm working for. At least I know I've got a boss.
That makes sense to me.
From obviously, the kids and the parents, that we know that they also want a consistent leader, but the teachers, we definitely, and I think that we want to know who it's going to be. So, I just agree, with the time frame. I think
Yield a good candidate. No.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Sure.
Rogers. I think we have
I
to
know.
move on with our
Sorry.
very packed agenda, but we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that
Thanks
was
for
a
having me.
full hot seat, but it got a little more there for you. But
It's all good.
thank you for
It's all
being
good.
here, and it was important. I feel like you heard my concerns, and I feel better.
Well, and if you have other questions that come up, shoot me an email.
You live in the neighborhood, we'll just come.
I do.
Pitchforks and tools.
I've been here for, I moved in here
We
in
need,
2002, so
we
it's been
need
20
an
years.
instructional leader. An instructional leader means to me that knows how to build capacity.
Yes.
I'm serious. I've been through the leadership training for Atlanta Public Schools, Tier 2 leadership. And I understand a whole lot. I hear everything everybody's saying. I'm Dr. Brian anyway. But also this person understands curriculum,
Yes.
moving us forward as a school from a curriculum standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, from a climate standpoint. We have no climate, no culture. And we need to move this thing. And this person should be dealing with equity issues as well as things that are equality. And that's what I'm looking for in a leader at Howard Middle School.
Well, I hope when we review the leadership profile, because you mentioned like 3 domains right there when you were talking,
Mhm.
make sure that we capture that, because that's what we'll look at Tier 2 when we vet the larger group down to a much finer, better group.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that I feel like we all kind of got some things out there in the open. Super packed agenda, so we'll move forward with this. I think the next thing that we'll go over, we have an agenda item to talk about establishing a family engagement and communications advisory committee. I think we can do that next because everything other than this involves a strategic plan, SIP, different things like that. So we will do that and then try to push forward as much as we can with the rest of it. As far as the Family Engagement and Communications Advisory Committee, that has been suggested. For those of you like me who read through your Go Team handbook, you know that is a standing committee of the Go Team, and that parental engagement has been an issue. So I think in order, as far as Robert's Rules of Order, in order for us to really discuss this and have a vote, we need to have someone to move and set the establishment of that. Is that appropriate?
That's perfect.
Okay, did you all have any?
Well, we can talk to Diane about it I think when we talked to you last, and Diane mentioned that some of the Go Team things were being rewritten and updated, sorry for that wrong word.
Okay.
Updated, and this was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because when the charter system first started, this was that family engagement arm. Now, every school is supposed to have a family engagement leadership team, which is supposed to include, that parent involvement, somebody from the Go Team, but that's family engagement, the Office of Family Engagement that's leading that. So what we want to really try to avoid is having 2 groups in a building with a similar mission, working on different paths. So if this Go Team wants to do some form of committee like that, I would caution you to be very, very thoughtful in how you are directing the work. When, what is the work of the committee going to be, and how do they align with the felt? Because it doesn't help to have 2 groups going off in different directions, right? So.
Right.
Can I speak
Right.
to like the
Well,
interest behind it?
So we have a family engagement leadership team, and that's the district has, we just are getting that up the ground too. They're giving us our trainings, and Jennifer is on it. So, we have that, but we're just starting.
And somebody from this team could be on that felt and bring reports back. So that might be the path that you all may or may not want. But if you're going to form this and you can go through, that's fine. Just be thoughtful in how you're doing the work.
So I think that for full discussion purposes and according to the rules of order, we can move forward with getting a motion, a second, and all that, and then move forward with a discussion.
can we frame it a little, Eric Goldberg, can we frame it a little? So part of the impetus behind us even discussing this is there were two parents who emailed the GO team and asked, they wanted a family engagement committee. They felt there was a little bit of a communications vacuum, and they cited circumstances where I guess the Morningside, where they were parents, or where there was a similar committee. So I think that was sort of the impetus. This is coming from the parent community that wants to form the committee.
Well, I would say that it was, in my mind, it's beyond two parents.
Oh, yeah.
Because it seems like a lot of parents are saying, where's the engagement? How can I be involved? How can my voice be heard? Different things like that. So seeing this in the handbook that's currently being updated, that this could be an option for us. I've heard that it could not, as she said, being thoughtful about the work, there's ways that we can do that without necessarily being redundant, being collaborative and inclusive and all that. But
Are you saying that we have to make a decision on it because it's required?
it is not required.
I mean,
It is a mechanism for this GO team to provide a way for parents to be more engaged in issues that are before us.
But parents are asking for it, so I think we have a responsibility to discuss and move forward.
And they are.
Right, but so,
I'm not sure.
do we already have one though, is what we're saying?
Yes, we're just getting the information to get it started.
Right.
I think last week from the Family Engagement Department.
The first meeting is December 9th.
Does it make sense?
So you're working.
Yeah,
you're
I think
leading it.
I'm leading it.
Maybe,
Yes.
so
I'm
basically,
not technically a member, so
So,
I'm-
so maybe we should discuss about
Oh.
how this committee, how the committee that you're leading is gonna look, and how if we get another one, how it would look, so there aren't redundancies.
So talk about, yeah.
That was my intention.
Identify yourself and then give us some information about the filter.
Okay, great. So I'm Jennifer Capelli, I'm the program administrator here at Howard. And yes, the Family Engagement Office just reached out to us on like Thursday of last week to establish this committee. So at this point, we have, limited information, but he did send over a needs assessment today that needs to be completed with our team. So I will be leading that team. There is 2 teachers on the team, as well as our social worker and coach, I believe.
Yes.
And a student as well. And so we will be meeting the week we get back from Thanksgiving break to complete our needs assessment as a team. And then we will meet with the Family Engagement Office on December 9th to kind of go through that needs assessment and establish what we're going to be doing moving forward. So we could definitely invite one of the teachers on this GO team to,
Are there any parents involved in the needs assessment or anything like that?
Yes, there's definitely.
You
parent
said
voice
2
involved.
teachers, a social worker, a coach.
That's who's on the committee from the APS side. And then once we meet with the Family Engagement Office on the 9th, it will be more widespread.
It's like the leadership.
Orientation.
It's the
orientation.
Right, this is the
For them to move
orientation.
forward.
Exactly.
So based on, I thought this is a wonderful committee, the evaluation for Howard and community. The type of committee that parents were talking about would be where the GO team would sort of go out to a group of parents, which yet to be determined how that would be formed, who would be selected. That's all up in the air. And they would report out what the GO team was discussing. The parents would say, here's issues that we're sensing in the community that we'd like to talk about. So it would be a direct outreach to sort of a parent group. So there may be room to do both.
may I say, this is Kim Jenkins, and I think, I just digress by saying, I've been the PTSA president of everything, of everything, and the president of everything, and the wisdom of everything, and the secretary. And I think that a lot of the work that's being asked for, I've seen traditionally done in many ways through like PTSA meetings, and this is Zoom. And, and I think, but if
There's no
I
interaction. You can't, the only
Right,
way you can ask
but
a
there-
question at the end.
but there can be, the PTSA meetings or whatever you call it should be fully interactive. They should be. So, my work, and I think that's what the rules are. So if a parent has, that's kind of appointed if they have, if they want to know what's happening here, if I'm understanding you. If they want to know what's happening here, we have Zoom, we have the notes, we have et cetera. If they want to give input, then that would be the PTSA meeting. And I'm gonna leave it right there, but the other reason is when the APS was trying to build a radio station way back in the day, I was the booster club parent that made them finish the underneath of it. And so I had to kind of learn all of these things. And that's how we exchanged information. And then we engaged the community neighborhood groups. So
I think that's great feedback, but I think the parents are coming to us asking for this. I think when you're saying PTSA, I hear PTO, the parent teacher organization.
parents, yes,
Yeah, but their primary function is like fundraising, right?
it shouldn't be, no.
Right. I think.
But, okay, I'm sorry. I
So,
digress.
so Go Team is about governance, so I think what they want is for to be involved in governance issues, what's going on.
The way that I've heard this working in the past is that, again, it's a way, so it would be a representative that on the committee that I could designate, the principal could designate, and then perhaps one other person from the Go Team. And then beyond that, it could be populated with parents throughout the community. So depending on the number of people, of parents that were involved, it could primarily be a parent subcommittee. But they might not necessarily follow along with every single meeting that we do, but they might engage on certain hot topic issues, perhaps on the principal selection, although this is not it would not be a principal selections committee, but it could be a way for them to give feedback or input on that. And then perhaps around the budget. Those are just some examples of how I've heard that it's worked in the past. But again, it's not meant to be duplicative necessarily. But I would say that it keeps coming up. So it's been kind of deferred in lieu of the felt team, but then the felt teams kind of seem to be nebulous or lagging behind. But I'm just giving
And great
the
point, like, so if parents are asking for more engagement, we should grant it, we shouldn't say less engagement.
Oh,
If they ask for more engagement, we should give it.
I just also think that we should look at all of the places that we have to engage and make sure we're using them the right way. So I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not the what, it's the how.
And again, I would just ask to Ms. Jenke's point, if you have this committee, one of the things that we ask you to do when you fill out the resolution is to lay out what problem you're trying to solve. You know, if this is just going to be a committee where people can just come to where there isn't that back and forth, where there isn't a direct problem, you know, you do have other avenues. And again, to Ms. Jenkins' point, there are ways for people to come to the Go Team and communicate what they're looking at, either in terms of emails, public comment, you know, there are avenues. So again, I would just caution you to be very thoughtful as you form this committee so that you can put in those guidelines, guardrails as to how this committee is furthering your work of governance in relationship to your strategic plan.
Right.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. So this committee in particular would be like underneath the Go Team.
Correct, it's a subcommittee.
So that would mean that someone sitting at this table is gonna have to be in charge of that committee.
Correct, that would be the committee.
Okay, that's
chair.
just something that I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
didn't think about.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I'm just.
Yeah. So the committee would be comprised of someone that I could designate, and Mr. Goldberg has volunteered for that. The principal or the principal's designee, and then one additional member of the Go Team would be the nucleus of that subcommittee, and then from there, it will be filled in with parents.
Sounds like a hot seat.
It sounds like a little thing.
A hot seat. I'm Dr. Bryant.
Sitting on the hot seat.
Sitting on the hot seat.
And what would this group do? I feel like we're not. I feel like
Something's
what
not
would this
right.
group do that this group would not? That's what, if you can help me understand. What, because whatever, and what is your group called? What's your group called?
Well,
It's
family,
the districts.
it's the district.
Family engagement leadership.
So it's an ABS.
It is an ABS. It's coming out of the Office of Family Engagement, and
Okay.
every school right now is developing a family engagement leadership team.
Okay.
Which is not just an arm of the Go Team.
No.
So
It's
much
another
more.
And then help me understand why you think us see. Help me understand what you're
No.
seeking that team's not gonna do. That would help me.
Well, this sounds more on the district level. This sounds more, the parenting subcommittee sounds more like community-based, parent-based. So I don't think it's necessary for us to have a list of what the parents want to talk about, because we don't know. We don't know what's going on in the community. They could come to us and say, here's what we want to see in the principal search. They could say, hey, staffing, we've got too many children who have teachers, who haven't had steady teachers, and they're not getting structure.
Well, I will say that the committee can't really get into that.
Yeah, but I'm just throwing out examples.
Right, yeah,
I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't think it's our, we need to know right now. But we would, the subcommittee would be a reflection of what the parents and community want to talk about.
No, I agree, except for my other question, so then this lesson, I think we should move on from this, but I think it's, but there is, when I see this school, any school, there's 10 different other ways in place for that to be, so it sounds like it's less of an avenue to communicate than a coordination to communicate in the right place. So what if we kind of looked at, looking at how we're communicating and start communicating things in the right place? And letting people know where to go. So, I mean, I love.
I understand the go team is great, but it has limitations because.
I'm not talking about the go
if
team,
you're
I'm
a
talking
parent-
about all the
But
other.
I'm just saying, you were saying about how to communicate where. If you want to communicate as a parent, as a go team, you have to wait for the public comment. It's limited to 2 minutes and it's not interactive. You don't get any feedback back from the go team, those are the rules. That's fine.
You mean in the moment?
It's limited.
So parents are looking for in the moment feedback, like they want, and they want to be able to ask the
No,
question.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying they want to.
Shut on to that.
Okay, that's.
Okay, so I think at this point, we need to, call for questions. Is there,
No.
you know, we're getting a lot of different feedback here, but we need to, have a vote put forward. I think at this point, if you all are prepared to do this on to establish this or not, or do you think, you know, you want to put it forward?
I'd like to put it forward. I think we need to vote. I think we have a responsibility. The parents, it keeps on coming up. The parents want this. As a go team, we're a reflection of the community.
And the other thing is since Jennifer said that we're gonna be working with the district family engagement team, you can also,
And a go team member will need to be on this team.
right, so you can also choose to table this and ask Jennifer to come back to a future meeting and tell you what she has found out.
Exactly.
And everybody at this table can kind of digest to make sure that they know what they want, if you form one, and see then how that aligns. So you do have options on how to approach this problem and this issue instead of having to make a decision in the moment if the team so wishes. The team can also take a vote and vote to form one, and then we have to fill out the resolution form. So, you know, you have to be prepared to fill out, this is what we want this team, this committee to do. So I'm just trying to give you what your options are.
So could this committee though kind of be an answer? Like, would it get feedback from parents? Would it on important issues that are facing the school? Not staffing, because that's way operational that go team and this subcommittee shouldn't get into anyway, but.
I'll be able to answer that question after December 9th.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Joy sheets real quick. Are other schools, do other schools have these, been already established?
Family engagement and communication advisory.
There only a couple right now because of the district's push for family engagement, and they're kind of in cohorts and how that felt has been pushed out. So in this transition, so I don't see a whole lot of family engagement and communication teams, but and committees on go teams. What we are seeing more of is, because of FELTS, is a coordination between that communication piece. So somebody from the go team is invited to be part of the agenda of the foundation. Somebody from the go team is invited to be part of the agenda for the PTA or PTO and give a report as to what's happening in those, on those boards, so that they can then get that information out and get feedback in different, you know, so it's looking different. I mean, we do have some teams with other committees entirely. I have one team that has a dress code committee, somebody else who has a scholarship committee, somebody who has a, you know, so those are, just to let you know, not all teams have subcommittees. Some teams do, and they look different across the district. That's part of that autonomy and flexibility.
Okay.
So maybe we should wait till after this December 9th, and so we'll get more of a description from Ms. Capelli. I mean, yeah, truth be told, what I hear tonight, it sounds like it's a promising committee, but I didn't hear a whole lot. I didn't hear enough where the parents would be represented. I think there would need to be more than one or two parents as part of the body for it to be sort of reflective. So I'm open to hearing more. And it could be maybe we have 2 committees where we get more parents involved, because I think there is a thirst out there for there to be parents to be involved and giving feedback. Maybe we can accomplish that through your committee. So maybe two to be determined.
Yeah, okay, so with that being said, it seems like that we will not move forward with a vote on that. We're going to table that topic for right now. I think, when we come back when's our next meeting? December what?
January.
It's in January.
That's right, January.
So our next meeting is in January, I think, and by then, the new principal will be in. The new principal might be picked by the time we're back. So, that's a lot, but I think that,
So if we're tabling it to the next meeting, the next meeting is gonna be in January. Ms. Capelli is going to meet in December 9th. Are you able to send us an email, just kind of informing us of what you've learned? So that way, when we come back to the table in January, we will be able to rediscuss that committee as well as establish our own, and also discussion of the principal and the budget.
yeah, that'll be a lot.
Oh, I'm Coach Abrams.
I think too that, you know, obviously given what's gonna happen between now and then, we will have to just lean in and making sure that our entire community, whether it's parents, community members, staff, are as engaged as much as possible in this, parental, principal selections process, giving their feedback, engaging around the profile. So, hearing from you guys, so we'll just have to, I think, kind of have some offline work about that to make sure that people are aware of what's going on and they're leaning in as much as possible, and they don't feel like it got kind of lost or rushed or pushed through that type of thing. And then I think that when you do come back, if you could just clarify what is family engagement, and these are the 11 ways that you can engage as a
And the
parent at the
mission and the
school,
goal and blah,
all that
blah,
sort
blah.
of thing, because obviously it's meaning different things to different people. I hear different things from a lot of different areas. So we will table that for right now. The next item on our agenda, they all involve strategic plan, from the action items down to the discussion items. The next, what we're called to do is to approve a strategic plan and potentially to establish priorities. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about that. So if you could give us an update on where we are, some things are kind of in flux with what we were charged to do versus where we are now. So, yeah.
And I'm gonna stand up. Because I can see the screen. Okay, so, I cannot stand to see myself on the camera. Barbara Shea. Do I stand here? What is this?
The camera's over here.
I don't want to see it. Okay, so to get started, I'm Barbara Shea, one of the interim principals.
You have to use this, that's the touch is turned off.
Right, he told me. Okay, I got you. Thank you, darling. So we're going to present the SIP and the continuous improvement plan and the strategic plan because they're married to each other. And what we found that when we got here was that there was no SIP, and that the strategic plan that had been written was written without measurable goals. And so we had to go back and revisit. So we've been doing that in the time that we've been here, looking at the data, trying to figure out where we need to start. And so this is the continuous improvement plan, and that is made up of SMART goals. And one of the things, and I wanted to say it, is a family engagement piece inside of this plan that we have. Remembering that this is a fluid document, that we can have some things that we want to tighten or change. Tonight, I'm just going to present it. That will be posted, you can look at it. So we have a SMART goal for literacy, writing across the curriculum initiative, streamlining the use of solos, which are like little tests, and amplify curriculum to collect needed formative data and guide instruction, and provide student feedback on an ongoing basis. We looked at our population, we looked at our subgroups, and the students who fall, that are struggling the most in this building are students that are Black or students with disabilities. So one of our goals for them is to increase their scores on ELA milestones by 3%. students who fall in the subgroup of Black or students with disabilities will increase by 3% on the math milestone because we have a literacy goal and a numeracy goal. And then we also are looking at whole child and student support. And if I could get rid of my picture, I could read the whole thing. Implement the PBIS structure school-wide with a focus on setting high expectations and celebrating positive behaviors. Successful delivery of 45 minutes of SEL using second step every week in an advisory setting, using our restorative practices coach to support students in learning correct behaviors and repairing relationships. And through that, we give the BASK. And I know that you all have heard about that. It's the screener that we use every year to look for emotional stressors that our kids are exhibiting. And we want to get 3% of our students out of the extremely elevated and elevated category on that screener. And the thing about the BASK is that it gives us a lot of information about our kids, but it's also something that when we have children that fall in those very high categories, it is imperative that we meet with those babies and find out what was going on the day they took that screener. Because I mean, I was at a school last year and one of the young ladies that answered the screener and came out looking like she was in big trouble, had lost a person in her family that week. And when she answered the questions, that shadowed every answer. And so when we got our results and we pulled her in, we realized that it was a situation that she was responding to. And because a lot of times our kids don't know how to look at things as a big picture. Like, how are you feeling? Well, right now I feel good, good. But yesterday I felt bad. They don't look at it like that. So that's one of the things that make us very cautious when we look at our elevated and extremely elevated kids to find out if it's real. And then we pull our parents in because we want them to be aware, this is how your baby's feeling. And we look at wraparound services and we do all of those things to try to support these kids who are truly struggling. We, of course, have seen a big uptick since COVID and lots of trauma that's come out of being at home, staying with one place for 18 months, and many students not really engaging. We know they weren't engaging. We could see them on the screen. We still knew they weren't engaging. So we are using our BASK screener to prepare our kids, to prepare ourselves to look at kids that are struggling, look at our counseling services, look at wraparound services outside our building, and anything we can do to support kids into a better space. We are also a PBIS school, and we're just sort of getting that off the ground. So we're going to do, which is a positive behavior intervention. We focus on what is good. We celebrate what is good in our building. We are going to use classroom guidance surveys to find out what the kids want to talk about. And we're going to monitor their attendance and APS graphs because a lot of our kids who struggle aren't coming to school as much as they need to. Okay, Jennifer, I said I knew what I was doing, but I could be lying. Did I do it? No? Okay. Oh, it's my computer. Yeah. Okay. No, still no. Thank you, baby. Okay. So this is just, yeah, we're going to skip this one because we just talked about it. And we're getting to family engagement. There we go. So some of the action steps we want to encourage parents. We want to provide opportunities for them to engage in the school community via volunteering and school-wide events. Now, from what we just talked about, we know that maybe other great ideas will come from that, and we are open to those. But in the meantime, we will provide monthly proactive communication in the form of a newsletter. Dr. Snowden and I send a weekly communication out every Friday just to sort of summarize the week, what we've done with some high points, things that are upcoming. We will continue that. We will host an open house and curriculum night. And some of these things we've already done because the timeline you can see with the dates. After Christmas or after the winter holidays, we will host a STEAM night.
That's the coffee and.
We'll continue with our principal coffees monthly, and we will look for more volunteer opportunities for our parents to come into the building and engage. Thank you, darling. No, that didn't work.
Not right.
Okay, all right. Next time, I think a lot of people that are important get to have their own clip.
One more.
Okay. Oh, that's whole child that we talked about. We're going to implement the STEAM program. We have one tiny hiccup in our STEAM program in that our STEAM coach resigned and is taking a job in corporate. So we could not stand in her way. She has done a ton of work though for us to get us through to a certain point, and we are totally appreciative. So we are still a STEAM school. We now need to find a STEAM coordinator. But our goals, we are still working in enrichment through STEAM. Ms. Capelli has received all of the tasks that Ms. Lomax had created for us, and we're going to continue with those lessons in our enrichment classes. And we're going to create a makerspace, which we already have for our STEAM program. So we've gotten some things done, but unfortunately, we're going to have to find somebody to help us out. So that kind of brings to the end our school improvement plan. Our continuous improvement plan, which leads us to talk a little bit about our strategic plan. That little Dr. Snowden is supposed to be doing this, and she just gave me a signal that I need to. So you will understand that our strategic plan, the one that we were presented with, and I was telling Ms. Reeves tonight, it didn't have anything measurable in it. It was just some I guess they're goals, but you can't really measure if you don't have some numbers. So we had to revisit it. And of course, we revisited it based on our school improvement plan. So again, we have SMART goals, and they're very similar to the ones that we just talked about with our lowest performing kids getting a focus. We are focused on that and trying to close their achievement gap. We want to reduce the percent of kids in the elevated and highly elevated on our BAS, implement our STEAM, and then our stakeholders. So it's really almost like a condensed version of the continuous improvement plan. So we want to foster academics excellence for all. And these things are just the steps that we're going to take to meet the needs of that box, meet the needs of that box, all the way down. The one thing we have to do as a group is look at the schools, if we're okay with our strategic plan, we have to look at our strategic priorities and prioritize them. Like see what you think is the most important thing versus, all the way down. Knowing that this is a 5-year plan, and it is fluid because it could change at the end of the year. If our test scores are at a certain level for certain kids, we will make some changes. But in the meantime, this is where we are now. And I did make a copy of this. I did, didn't I?
Everybody has a copy.
Everybody has a
So
copy.
Look at it and decide what you think should be. We decided on the first 2 being priorities. And you all decide whether you want to stay with that or you want to change.
We want to work on the fostering academic excellence for all and building a culture of student support inside the building. Although the others we will be doing, we were just talking about in an order of priority. This is what we thought was the most important for our students. And okay, so if we look at it and you see that they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th all the way to 14. If you were prioritizing, do you agree with that order of priority? I guess, I don't know, I'm maybe taking over somebody else's job and I will gladly give it right back to you.
Are these rhetorical questions or? No, are we asking?
You decide, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For this team to take a look at it and decide whether you agree with what we prioritize. Or if you want to change something around.
Or if you wanted something at a different priority level.
I have Kim Jakey, but I have one thing that seems like they go together almost. So you know how you have building a culture of student support with safe, positive, informed, engaged school culture utilized, kind of goes with with the collective action and the engagement piece in it. Because all I keep thinking about is how, because I think there's a lot of different groups in our school that are not functioning at their highest power. Because I think we have, so I'm not sure if we know the who, what, where, whys, and whens of what that is. So for example, if we took a lot of this community engagement stuff, if it was known that it was a concern, which it is, that could all pinpoint out of the PTSA. They could just to every booster club. Do you know what I mean? And every month we want, your booster club parents to feed us information. Information should feed and feed, So I'm thinking that I agree with it. I think it's fine. I just think that number 4, they're creating a system of school support, and number 2, building a
Build a culture of student support.
are almost like a 1.5. Like,
Yeah.
like together, can, I think of them together,
Okay.
but I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to officially vote to, okay, accept this as recommendation, okay. Okay, so
This coach about this. And we talked a lot about this last year, like she said, there were not a lot of measurable things on here, but when we look at different things as far as utilizing data, making sure students receive the intervention and enrichment, a lot of that is also based on having quality teachers that we're losing monthly. So I think creating an environment and retaining our staff should be a lot more important than where it is, because we can't give that quality instruction if we don't have.
You're talking about building
quality.
teacher capacity and leadership opportunities. Down
So we're
by
looking down.
empowering leaders and staff. I mean, this right here, these things, they don't change, but we
No,
can,
no,
we can
We're looking at
prioritize
the
some of those.
priorities in the middle.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
talking about
So we
equipping and
retain
empowering.
staff is down at 19 of 14, of 9 of 14.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I don't
Creating an
think we
environment.
put enough emphasis on trying to retain our staff. It's going to be hard to build student capacity.
So I'm glad you said that. That's exactly what we're talking about. So looking at these numbers,
Mhm.
you're saying, let's take number 9 and put it up towards the top.
Yes.
And that's all, that's
Yeah, that's what I'm
exactly
saying.
what we're
Yeah,
doing.
that's what I'm
Perfect.
saying.
So if we want number 9 up in the top 5 or the number, then that's fine. That's exactly what we had to number them when we did them because they correlate with the,
I
but
got you.
you
I
can
got you.
change
I see
that
what you're
order.
saying. I
You
got
can change
I see
that
what you're
order,
saying.
absolutely.
So if we want to move 9 up, would we have to move up equipping and empowering leaders and staff? Would we have like move that whole thing up?
No,
No. Okay.
no, it's just the priority. No.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, yes.
No,
So we're moving 9 to,
up
where would
towards,
you want it to be?
You said what?
Where would you want
Oh, this is what I'm
it to be?
saying. And at least in the top 5. I
okay.
mean, at least in the top 5. So I'm looking through.
Yes. Right.
So it's not necessarily correlated with that.
Now it's a priority, yes, because we know there's a 5-year plan, so,
Mhm.
and we know that we're not gonna get to every single thing to that degree, but this is critical, is what you're saying. And I'm not a voting member of this.
So it's not 9, it goes up somehow in the top 5, so you have to put something down. Is that correct?
So the way you listed.
They're all listed to connect.
Is it listed?
They're connected.
Connecting to the sandbox.
Yeah, they're
Gotcha.
connected.
So that
So
was
let's-
that goes back to
so
my
let's move that
question.
up to 7.
Now would reset
So
our
let's move that up to
priorities, it
7.
doesn't matter what box they're in. You're just picking which are the priorities.
So number 9, creating an environment that motivates and retains staff members.
You want it under building a culture of student support. Is that where you want it placed?
So is that what you're saying? Is that it's
No, I think it would
side by
fall,
side?
but it would also
It's
fall,
2 different things, right?
it would also fall easily under fostering academic excellence.
So, wait,
Where the,
when you're
where the
looking at
confusion,
priorities, you're not necessarily moving them based off of what, okay, so let's look at this. So the priorities and the initiatives, those are domains, right?
Yep.
And then the Howard school strategic priorities are ones that fall in that domain. But now what you want to do is you want to take the school strategic priorities and kind of pull them off of that document and list which ones you think should go in what order.
okay.
We're not moving, we're not
Not moving.
changing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's There's still a priority, we're just pushing it.
That's what he was
So
saying.
you're not lining up with the.
No.
with
No,
the,
we're not lining
up.
initiatives.
Right.
You're just
You
listing.
just say, here are our priorities, and these are the
Just
things
look
we're
at this
working on.
list.
And that's a great priority. I mean, that's something that should absolutely be a top priority.
Right, because those priorities still fit in the same domains, you're just shuffling them around into what you think are the, I mean, as you look at these priorities, remember that this is going to give direction to your principals, whoever sits in that principal seat. This is going to give direction to that person
But it's
as to where you want and how you want funds allocated.
right.
I
It's
see.
So
all about money.
it's all about money. So if and I haven't read all of the priorities, but let's say that one of your priorities is, we want science classes of no bigger than 10 students per science class. And that's your #1 priority. Then the principals should look at that and try to figure out how to staff the science department in such a way to get as close to that priority as possible.
So then I think this number 9 should be number 3. Because we
And
have to
everything is
retain,
up and down.
we have to retain the staff in order to
To
extend
accomplish those
opportunities.
goals.
Yeah, so it has to be top 3, I think.
Just circle it.
Right there, so.
And I mean, I think the numbers on that are just more,
That was just for us.
that's just for you in terms of like how it looks on that page.
Yes.
Okay.
So pretend now that you've taken that middle section that says school strategic priorities,
Right.
you
And
can
it's all
pull it
that
off the page and you can reorder it
Anyway,
however you want.
Okay, these are different, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
the black and white one is the one.
the one that we give you in the meeting is the one we take. The
Because
one
the
that's,
one originally was the one that was on the page that was not smart road.
Gotcha.
So we've got to now add this on
To
that.
that,
to
okay.
make it clear.
Okay, that makes
Because this is all about how we spend our budget.
Okay.
And like what you said, quality people, keeping quality people, acquiring quality people is a huge, and getting people to come to work is big.
any other suggested changes to that priority in the priority list?
I think we should maybe just focus on that one. Just focus on that one.
He's right, Robert. Yes.
Okay, having suggested that change, we need to officially vote on the order.
So there are 2 things you're voting on. One is you're voting on the plan, and then you're voting on the order. So yes, you have to officially vote, and we sent you a slide deck, so you're gonna have to fill out that slide where
Where we put those priorities.
Okay.
Just for clerical sake, what are we voting on first, right? The strategic.
No, first you have to vote on the
The
plan.
plan itself.
And remember with the plan that it is a fluid document, but if you are not, if anybody is not comfortable with this plan tonight, you know, this is one of those times to say it, and again, just like the committee, this is a big deal. This is one of your #1 things.
Right,
So
right.
if the team feels they need more time, the team can do that. But please be aware that you have to rank those priorities before the semester break. So if you don't rank them tonight, you have to schedule another meeting, which may be a shorter, quicker meeting, but
So Eric, I suggest that we vote on the plan and then have a 5-minute discussion, however long it takes to vote on order.
Fair enough.
I'm not
Second.
trying to rush us along,
Yeah, but
but
it is about 6
I
o'clock.
do have time constraints on me. So this is really, really important, and I don't know that we should do it in 5 minutes, but I'm gonna let y'all decide that. But I'm just letting you know, I don't have much past 6:10 in me, okay? I have to go get someone somewhere. No, I have to vote. So, and also 6 o'clock next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone needs to put a motion on the table.
Kim Jenke, I put a motion on the table to vote for our strategic plan.
George,
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of this strategic plan? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, now we need to look at this, the order of the school strategic priorities, rank them, and then vote to approve those as well. There's already been one suggestion to move number 9 of creating an environment that motivates and retains staff members up to the top 3. Any other changes in ranking order?
And remember that we're just looking at this now.
Yes, just,
And we're just looking at these
Nothing
and
around it,
saying,
nothing around it.
saying, okay, what's the most important to the, they're all important.
yeah,
but
just the ones right here in this box, not correlating to anything else, just what's right here.
I believe that under our circumstances, that we could push 3 to like 6.
The advanced core content.
Because we can achieve that in many other ways.
Can we, because that's concerning to me. So we want to expand opportunities for at least 5. So basically what we're saying is taking some of these non-gifted students that are just haven't tested into gifted, but are showing
Honestly,
promise.
we've already done it. We're at 5% now. We might be at 6.
I think we should.
So I mean, that was something that was a huge.
Because I know that was something that we were talking about and y'all were.
And we did it in core content classes.
And I know y'all, I mean, I kind of try to stay in my lane when it comes to that.
No, but you were right. You were
Well,
exactly
I
right.
with Dione, even if you've done that, I think from an optics standpoint, that should stay high, that should stay.
Oh,
high, because
absolutely.
That's the plan, that's what we're achieving.
We said at least 5%. We want to go as high as we can go.
That's what we're shooting for.
Yes. Yes. So that is on our radar in a huge way. Huge.
So we're moving number 9 to the top 5. Well, any others?
Top
That was 3.
Top 3, I mean, top 3, I'm sorry.
So 9 to 3, so that would make 3, 4, and then the corresponding numbers going down.
Oh, so you're okay with the order of the rest
Just
of them?
shifting down, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So top 3, okay.
And this, we're talking, this right here is gonna be how we're spending our money next year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, this leads us to, yes,
Yeah.
what staff we need to make sure this is good.
Right.
Okay.
You know, what things do we need in place?
I would say that number 10 is providing necessary support. I'm not saying we need to remove it, but I definitely think that's something we need to pay attention to so we can be successful. Because I feel like we're gonna need some resources to support the staff that, I mean, because when we had our little STEAM, like introductory meeting, that was really good, but it also made me a little nervous. You know, I just wanna make sure I'm prepared. I feel
Right,
like-
absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. So that was number 10.
Yeah.
So where would you like to see that one? We don't really know.
I mean, you know, maybe you can just kind of just move up just a couple,
Sure.
but again.
You're not being a. Okay, would you like it up by 4, 5, or 6, or?
Yeah, we can put it, yeah, that's fine, and just in the, so you said we're gonna move that other one, yeah, so 5 or 6 is good.
Okay, so I'll put it like, okay, I got you.
Thank you.
I just like to do the, want to make sure I do the slide deck, all the right things. So we move this from the. Okay.
So right now, we've had 2 suggestions that seem to be sticking, move 9 to the top 3, move 10 up to 5 or 6. Anything else, suggestions there?
I think 11, do a little more attention, but I feel like I feel like we're at the beginning of something, and the priorities are pretty good for where we are right now. Except
Do you want to leave that where it's
I
at
think-
place then?
if some of the stuff I don't really understand, like the utilization of data, I don't
Yeah.
understand. And I also have a perspective where a lot of the stuff that happens here happens in boosters and PTSA and stuff. So the answer is, it can be an 11 if it works for you, as long as we recognize it's important. But I
Oh,
think it's a higher
absolutely. So
priority.
these are all our priorities, so yes.
Yeah, I think family engagement is obviously.
Mhm. So we want to leave it where it is, or do you want to move it up some? I mean,
I would move it up, but I don't know how we're moving the numbers around, you know what I mean? I think it could be higher than 11. I don't know where we would move it to.
well, I mean, we can move it and that just moves everything else, but it's fine.
It shifts everything
It's
down.
just fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Where you will be making the.
I have to fill out the slide deck, quite obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we'll look at it at a later time before.
but whatever,
Yeah.
however you ready
The
to
updated, what we updated,
Yeah.
you can just set while the switch is working.
You can send it to.
Yeah, so number
And to-
9.
yes.
Number
Yes.
9 is number
Yes.
3.
absolutely, yes.
And number 10 is number 5.
So we just push everything else.
Yeah, and then it would push, everything else
Yeah,
down.
just gonna slip it in. So what did we say, about 11? I'm so sorry.
Move 11 to
Well, this is not bad, it's, Mr. Perry said major.
Did you want to move it?
Did you want to move it or leave it?
We could leave it as long as we focus.
These are all priorities.
They're all priorities, so,
Okay.
and we moved 9 to, where did you have 9?
9 is number 3.
It's gonna be the new number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
It is hard to rank them.
It
is.
Everything is important.
It is, they're all important.
Yeah, but that's.
And a lot of them are interconnected.
Everybody needs to really look at
To
it.
take a serious look. at it.
Yes, so when we, when I get it done in the slide deck, it'll probably be a lot easier to read too. Would you say, Mr. Kobe? Okay.
But
And
we
this is
still
attached
need
to
to,
those.
since we have made some changes to the order, we still need to vote on this tonight or have a second meeting.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so is everyone prepared to vote on this?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
Yes.
suggestion?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion.
I second, Dr. Bryant.
All those in favor of voting?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so,
So I want to make sure we have what you have.
number 9 goes to number 3. And number 10, yes, goes to number 5.
And 11 goes to
11.
It was not specific.
So we're gonna leave the number,
Yeah,
but it's a
yeah,
priority.
Don't know where to put it.
yeah.
Don't know what to
Pause is where it stays, where it stays at that point too. So in terms of discussion items, you covered all of your presentation with that, or was there anything else you need to share? Okay,
No,
so
yes.
they have gone over all that. I think the only other thing we had informational items were a principal's report, a cluster report. I don't know how fast you guys want to go through those.
Really quick, we're just gonna say that we had a successful superintendent's chat on last night. Just remind you that Thanksgiving break begins Monday through the following Friday. December 6th is the day off, it's an asynchronous day for students. And as you know, we will need to select another Go Team member for
Yes.
Halloween.
Mhm.
Okay,
I was gonna ask you about
that's
that.
all we have.
And it needs to be a staff person, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so will you submit someone in January?
We will in
Okay,
January.
okay. Do you have your next principal's coffee planned yet?
It's on the calendar for January. It's
For January.
January, we have one in December.
Okay.
We had one last week, but that was for 8th grade parents.
Okay.
Rising.
Yeah, rising ranks, okay,
But we, yes. we have
okay, so we'll pay attention to that, okay.
Okay, so the CAT report, the cluster report, I'll be brief. So there were some hirings at the new K-5 at Inman facility. Terry Harness was hired as the principal there. He was the longtime Spark principal. So familiar face in the community. And at Spark, Springdale Elementary School, Dr. Jennifer Tony, she was the assistant principal to Dr. Harness for several years. So she was an internal hire there. She's now the full-time principal. I have a question. Will principal copies be offered virtually? That's not part of my report. It just came up on my phone.
I mean, we would, but the focus last year when I was here was that we wanted to come back into the building.
Right.
And so we're inviting you back into the building. We want family engagement. So the only way to really truthfully engage now is to come in person.
Sure.
And that answers, that's definitely a spot for them, that everything or something they want to talk to you about, that could be an opportunity.
Right. I would just say that I'll get back to the report. There are some.
Please
families-
get back to the report.
Yes,
We're not- Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah,
Okay. I got sidetracked. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
make it quick, make it quick.
Okay. STEM implementation during the cluster call, please ensure that all stakeholders have ongoing opportunities to access information and learn about STEM implementation. They're going to work to ensure every school has the foundation in place for STEM certification and facilitate monthly meetings with school STEAM programs specialists across the cluster. Immediate next steps. Principal Wheeler from Hope Hill will jumpstart the cross-cluster STEAM conversations, and Travis Norvell, the EPS Chief Strategy Officer, will reach out to the district STEM coordinator for expectations in the first year.
Thank you very much. Okay, no, are there any further announcements? No one signed up for public comment? Do I have a motion to adjourn
I'm
this
motion to
meeting? Okay, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions, all right, this meeting is adjourned at 6:13.
She said abstentions.
Thank you, all right.
No, my lip glasses.
Listen, I love being here, I do, I am here quite a bit.
When I just go up in.
Sleeping in today.
Get offline.
So that you Christmas.
Wait, where is it?
Oh,
I